Hey guys, we have some big shifts to talk about today in the astrology, in the energy that we have going on. Jupiter, our biggest planet in our cosmos, is changing signs today. And this is a pretty big deal because Jupiter takes 12 to 13 months to transit one sign. And so when Jupiter leaves one sign and enters another sign, this is pretty big, this is pretty profound, this is definitely probably a palpable shift that we're likely to be feeling. And it's going to do a lot for us, and it's going to be carrying us through the next year, the next 12 to 13 months that we have Jupiter in Aries. So we got a lot to talk about in terms of that today. And also, you guys, there is a definite theme highlight on polarities going on today, sort of two contradictory energies that may be surfacing. We got a moon in Virgo today. There's Mercury stationing to go retrograde. We got this theme of duality and polarities going on as well. So lots to talk about in our report today, you guys. Let's jump into the energy and see how all of this is unfolding for us today. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. My name is Aubrey, and this is your astrological outlook of the day. And we got some big business to talk about today, you guys. Jupiter entering the sign of Aries. Now, we can look at this from a couple different perspectives, but I'm sort of taking this in the context of the fact of what's been going on recently with Jupiter, as Jupiter was transiting this past year through the sign of Pisces, and this big Neptune-Jupiter conjunction that we had, which is one of the fundamental aspects of this entire year, this 222 year, bridging us into the age of Aquarius. Jupiter in a conjunction to Neptune. This has been sort of reinvigorating the spiritual renaissance throughout the collective of humanity, essentially, helping us to gain an expanded sense of spiritual truth and spiritual connection, and to really give us this expanded, again, this Jupiter theme, expanded ability to sort of connect, perceive, interact with spirit, also bringing in these spiritual truths and expanding our beliefs about the spiritual world. Generally, we're talking about the sign of Pisces and also the sign of Neptune, which rules Pisces, and Jupiter also rules Pisces. So when Jupiter has been transiting the sign of Pisces throughout the course of the past year, aside from the conjunction that we had with Neptune, this has been doing a lot to bring us an expanded sense of spiritual truth in one way or another. So now that we have closed out this phase of growth, that we have, gone through this lesson plan and this energetic experience, Jupiter is now moving from the last sign of the zodiac into the first sign of the zodiac. This is actually starting a new Jupiter cycle. And I feel like this cycle is very much going to be about putting these spiritual truths that we have gained an expanded awareness of over the course of this past year into action. We're talking about Aries, of course, like I said, the first sign of the zodiac, ruled by Mars. This is about taking action, initiative, assertiveness, motivation, willpower, courage, personal power as well, and bravery, strength, and independence. And with Jupiter ruling truth in the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars, this could perhaps have us really fired up to be fighting for our personal truths in one way or another. And again, coming out of this cycle in Pisces where Jupiter was, it's like we are primed and ready to sort of either fight for or take action in regards to pursuing these spiritual truths that we have become so acquainted with over the course of this past year. I'm sort of seeing this as putting spiritual wisdom gained into action, and also I feel like this energy is fundamentally at this point in time representing conscious action that we are going to be taking in one way or another over the course of this next year. Jupiter ruling consciousness, essentially, and ability to see things from a higher viewpoint and a higher perspective, and Mars, of course, the sign of Aries, ruling action, some type of conscious action based on some type of spiritual wisdom that was gained throughout Jupiter's transit of the sign of Pisces. I feel like this is the trajectory of things now that we have Jupiter in Aries. I feel like this transit of Jupiter through Aries is really going to, as I said, in Aries fashion, really sort of having us fired up to begin, taking off in a new direction and really inspired by like a newly reinvigorated like faith and trust and belief in ourselves as well. Jupiter rules faith and trust, belief, also optimism and hope. And the sign of Aries, this is the sign essentially of the self. And so alongside of this motivation, this willpower, this courage, this strength, this bravery, this assertiveness that is represented through the sign of Aries, this is also, I feel like, going to be restoring a sense of faith, belief, and trust in ourselves as well, to take that action, to move ourselves forward independently in this new direction. And, obviously at this point in time towards the age of Aquarius, and releasing ourselves from the past constraints and past ideas and past viewpoints and past beliefs that may have held us back from embracing the truth of our personal power, Aries, and really being able to set ourselves free to move forward in an authentic direction aligned with our personal truth as well. Personal truth, Jupiter and Aries, that is also another really big like indication of this particular aspect. So all of these things, you guys, we can generally expect, today, now, over the course of the next year, really sort of just feeling self-motivated and like self-inspired to pursue our desires and our passions and go after what we want. Especially also we have Venus in Aries right now as well, which also tends to give us a desire to really pursue and go after the things that we want, that we desire, that we're passionate about. So our personal will, our personal motivation, our personal truth, and this spiritual awareness that we've gained really acting as motivating forces, motivating factors in our desire and ability to set out in a new and independent direction moving forward in this energy. So that is really, in a nutshell, how I'm perceiving Jupiter moving into Aries at this point in time. And again, it's just like extra profound because we just had this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that went on in the sign of Pisces, where again, both Jupiter and Neptune are in their sign of rulership. Jupiter is the ancient original ruler of the sign of Pisces. Neptune is the modern ruler of the sign of Pisces. And so this really is this, spiritual renaissance, spiritual conscious expansion energy, like to the absolute max. And we've gone through that process. We've had that activation happen. And now we're moving into the sign of Aries, where we can really start to take some action based on these spiritual truths that we are beginning to embody now. However, you guys, today specifically, let's talk about how this is playing out in the context of the other energy that we also have going on today. Now, as I said in my intro, there are some hardcore themes of polarities that are coming up in the chart today, you guys. And, this is, it's actually kind of funny to me, like how this is presenting on Jupiter's first day of moving into the sign of Aries in terms of the other aspects that we have going on. Now, number one, we do have Mercury stationed to go retrograde in the sky right now, really just not moving, holding steady at his current degree and preparing to start moving backwards. And so this is bringing up these Mercury and these Gemini themes. We also have which Mercury and Gemini rule choices, polarities, dualities, like that type of stuff. We also have a moon in Virgo today, you guys. Virgo is also ruled by the sign or by the planet Mercury, who again is stationed in the sky right now. And this in and of itself is putting an emphasis on choices, decisions, polarities, dualities generally right now because of what's going on with Mercury and the fact that we do have a moon today ruled by Mercury as well. Now, another thing that we have going on today, we have Mars, you guys, our action planet, ruling Aries, where Jupiter just moved, right? Coming into a conjunction with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And we also actually have that Virgo moon opposing both of these planets today. Now, Mars in a conjunction with Neptune, you guys, this is essentially like, couldn't be more of an oppositional energy to Jupiter in Aries. Mars, again, rules the action that we're taking and our energy levels. And Neptune rules like the unconscious mind and like the dream state, and has a tendency to produce lower levels of physical energy. And so on one hand, we have Jupiter moving into Aries that is talking about this conscious action, this desire to take some conscious action in one way or another. But we have the ruler of Aries, Mars, moving into a conjunction with Neptune. And this, you guys, is representing unconscious action. This is, I mean, like I said, Pisces, Neptune, both of these rule the unconscious, and Mars rules our energy body and the action that we're taking, and is the ruler of the sign of Aries, where Jupiter is right now. So on one hand, we have Jupiter, this big planet of expansion, hope, optimism, trust, faith, belief, like all of these positive vibes moving to the sign of Aries, like, yes, let's go, let's start pursuing things, let's really act on these truths that we've gained this awareness of and start heading in this new direction in alignment with that, because of all the wonderful things that we can grow and build there, especially with the North Node in Taurus right now, and the Sun also coming into a conjunction with the North Node in Taurus, and actually that Moon in Virgo, which is in opposition to Mars and Neptune today, is also forming a trine to the Sun and the North Node in the sign of Taurus. So on one hand, there is definitely probably this inspired energy to begin growing something in a new direction based on this like spiritual awakening or this spiritual truth or this conscious expansion, like really putting them into action. However, Mars and Neptune together, you guys, this is an energy where we do not necessarily want to take any type of an action, because a lot of times with the Neptune influence, again, this is the opposite of the conscious action. This is a much more unconscious action. This is not being able to see things clearly. This is being in some type of illusion or fantasy or, delusion, or not perceiving things exactly as they are. And when we're not perceiving things exactly as they are, when we're operating in any state of confusion or uncertainty, like that is not the energy that we necessarily want to act in. So we have these two oppositional energies playing out today, while we simultaneously have Mercury ruling decisions, choices again, and polarities and dualities stationed in the sky, about to go backwards, the moon in the sign that is ruled by that planet Mercury, the moon in the sky forming the opposition today to Mars and Neptune, while Jupiter is moving into Aries. So it's like, on one hand, as I said, like there's this definite desire to, start moving things forward and take some action. But on the other hand, this is not the time to act, you guys. Like this is actually not a very good time to be starting anything new or to be engaging in any new type of action. Not only because we have Mercury going retrograde, but Mars and Neptune together, like this is not the best energy for acting, because a lot of times, we're just not seeing things clearly, and we have a tendency of being manipulated or deceived or taken advantage of, or based on any type of like delusion that we may be operating under and like inspired to act. So we don't want to be inspired to act in this energy while we're in a place of confusion, or while we're in a place of lacking any clarity or any like higher overall viewpoint or perspective. So definite, like polarities sort of like tugging on us today that we could perhaps be dealing with. And again, we also do have an opposition going on between the moon in Virgo and Neptune and Mars in the sign of Pisces. And this is also that oppositional like push and pull energy. So today is not the day, you guys, to start anything new or to take action based on anything other than solid facts. Now, there are some things that are positive indications and, beneficial uses of this energy, and that in terms of the way that we're acting and what we're doing with ourselves. And that is generally in terms of serving others from coming from a place of like genuine altruism. If we can conduct our actions from a place of genuine selflessness in this energy and really make it about serving others, like charity work, like just taking care of and serving others from that very open-hearted, non-egoistic place. Like, this is the most beneficial way to take action and to use our energy in this energy, because Mars and Neptune together, Neptune has a tendency of really like denying the ego, okay? And Mars is a very like ego-based planet and ego-based energy. And so this is supportive of taking action in a way that is not in any way inclusive of our own ego. Like, those are really the only type of actions that are necessarily supported when we have a Mars-Neptune conjunction playing out in the sky. You want to be very, very careful in this energy, you guys, that you are not being manipulated or deceived into action in some way that is actually benefiting someone else somehow. Our ego and our desires and our ideals and our delusions can sort of be like preyed upon in this energy for other people's benefit. So we really want to make sure that we are making sure that we know all the facts, that we understand things, that we are seeing things clearly, that we are not missing any of the fine print or any of the details in this energy if we are going to take some type of action. And again, you guys, with Mercury stationed in the sky as well, this is just not the best time for choices or decisions at this point in time. And there is definitely this emphasis on those polarities, these dualities and stuff like that. Focusing on self-care is actually a really good use of this energy as well, especially, you know, with the moon in Virgo, what we can do to heal ourselves in this energy and putting some energy into that can benefit us tremendously. Now, let's specifically talk for a minute about this moon in the opposition to Mars and Neptune. We're talking about the moon in Virgo. This can be a little bit of a more sticky placement anyways, because some of the lower octaves of Virgo, it can have a tendency to have us being a little like overcritical or self-judgmental or just like nitpicky or just a little bit like anal about stuff, okay? And then we're talking about the opposition from Mars and Neptune. So this could definitely be bringing up a sense of like internal irritability. We may feel a bit discouraged or incapable, or it may be bringing up some general like feelings of weakness or inferiority in this energy. And again, this is because Neptune blocks or breaks down the ego. So we may feel like, we may just be like emotionally feel like, you know, we don't have what it takes, or, you know, we're really not that good, or just like really finding our faults or being very self-critical in this energy. So we really want to be careful with that. And we don't want to take these feelings too seriously. Like, and that's another aspect of this. Like, with Mars in conjunction to Neptune, again, like, things may be a little cloudy in terms of the way that we are perceiving ourselves. Aries, Jupiter, Mars, the sign of the self. Like, we may be in a little bit of delusion right now about, you know, our true like potency, I guess you could say, like our true like ability to act, like what the power that we really have within us today with Mars in a conjunction to Neptune. We may be a little bit, again, like delusional about this. And then the moon, like reflecting on this, it could really be sort of like bringing us down and making us feel a little bit bad about ourselves. So, you know, this is just something that we may be experiencing. And again, it may add an additional layer of frustration because on one hand, we do have this Jupiter energy that is inspiring us to have this faith and belief and trust in ourselves and have this courage and this motivation and this willpower to go in the new direction. But then on the other hand, the moon, Neptune, Mars, this is an exact like contradictory energy bringing about like essentially the exactly opposing feelings and vibrations and energy. So we may be caught in this place of like this push and pull today, sort of like on one hand, like really wanting to take action to move forward in this new direction. Again, we do also have the moon forming the trine to the sun and the north node in Taurus today to grow something that is in that authentic alignment with us and that can create something for us tangibly, physically in our reality moving forward in this new direction. Jupiter into Aries and the sun north node in the trine to the moon today, things actually falling into place in one way or another. But then again, on the other hand, there's just this definite, could be like more just like negative feelings and perceptions about ourselves and not viewing our own selves clearly in this energy. So we don't want to attach to those vibrations and then like take some type of big radical action. You know what I mean? Like when we, and that's what I've been saying, you know, even though Jupiter and Aries may be like really like spurring us to like really want to take some type of action right now and move forward in this new direction, with all this Mercury retrograde and everything going on over this next few weeks, like we should be putting our action towards seeing the bigger picture, finding things out, reconsidering, reevaluating, reconfiguring, like going back and making sure that we truly understand everything properly in the way that we need to before we take this big action. Because you guys, if we take some type of big action right now that we're just feeling really inspired to take, and it's coming from a place of, you know, personal delusion in one way or another, like, yeah, like it might not be the end of the world. Like it might pan out like relatively beneficial, but there's going to have to be adjustments made. Like you're going to have to go back and rework things. It's this Mercury retrograde energy and this Mars Neptune. And honestly, like it may not end up being personally beneficial because again, Neptune and Mars, like this like creates a scenario where like the action that we are putting in is not benefiting like ourselves personally in one way or another. And that's another reason why it's a very good energy to engage in any type of charity work or serving, helping others from this very selfless, altruistic place. So this definitely playing into the energy today. And another aspect, another dimension of this is we may really feel like we just don't understand what is going on, you guys. Like the moon in Virgo, this is that linear, logical, like thought processes, like wanting things to be, like wanting all of our ducks in a row, like wanting things to be like organized and cohesive and streamlined. But and this is on an emotional, internal level with the moon being there. But with Mercury stationed to go retrograde, very strong right now, actually, in his other sign of rulership, in the sign of Gemini, this is not the case. Like, things are likely not to be coherent and streamlined and organized, really, especially in terms of like our thoughts and the information and all of that that's coming through at this point in time. And with the opposition to Mars, you guys, and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, moon in Virgo, it's like, again, Neptune and Mars together, this sort of clouds our perception of our own selves in a way, and, you know, how we act and how we behave and what our energy levels are and what we really have within us, and may put us to some state of like confusion or delusion in regards to those same Aries themes where Jupiter is right now. This, you know, faith, trust, and belief in ourselves, and the courage and the strength and the willpower and the motivation and the initiative and the assertiveness. Mars and Neptune together with Jupiter, and, you know, Jupiter moving into the sign of Aries, like this may also be expanding this sense of personal confusion or delusion or perceiving ourselves through a more negative lens in terms of our capabilities. And like I said, like our personal potency at this point in time. So something to keep in mind. And again, it could be having us feeling like we just are confused, like we just don't understand what's going on. Like we just don't understand why this is happening. Like things are not making sense. Things are not adding up. Like our emotions may feel a bit like a chaotic mess in this energy that we have going on right now. But again, the focus on the self-care, the focus and the energy into, you know, serving, caring for others, and putting the energy also into gaining the higher viewpoint, the bigger picture, seeing from the bird's eye view. We just went through a process of gaining a lot of spiritual truth. Now with Jupiter and Aries, it's the time to gain those, to use that spiritual wisdom that we've gained to come back into alignment with our personal truth. Aries, the sign of like us personally, and Jupiter ruling the truth. So gaining a greater understanding of our own personal truths, engaging in some self-care today, things that we can do to heal ourselves, especially on that emotional level, and doing our best not to attach to any of these more negative self-perceptions today in this energy could benefit us tremendously. Not the time for taking action to start something new, and there are just these themes of polarities, this back and forth, push and pull energy. Like we want to move forward, but something is pulling us back as well. It's like we really want to take off on this new direction, but maybe we are questioning the faith in ourselves to be able to actually do that today in this energy. Another thing, we want to pay particular attention today to things that may be presenting or standing out to us in one way or another. We have the sun today coming to the position of 21 Taurus in the sky. That Sabian symbol is a moving finger, points to a significant passage in a book. This is definitely, highlighting information. And again, we are in a period of some very active, perhaps bizarre, radical information that may perhaps be coming through. Again, we have the moon in Virgo ruled by Mercury. We have Mercury stationed in his own sign of Gemini right now. This is definitely putting an emphasis on these Mercury vibes, the information, the communications, the conversations, the messaging, the headlines, what we're reading, what we're hearing. And Mercury right now is at the degree a radical magazine or publication calling for action displays a sensational front page. So there is an aspect to what is going on right now that has a lot to do with perhaps some radical information that we are coming into contact with that is inspiring us to take some action in one way or another. And again, in this energy, we want to be very sure that we are sure of the facts, Virgo, before we are actually taking that action and acting. But with the sun today at a moving finger points to significant passages in a book, this is putting that highlight right back on the information. And I feel like this is telling us that we may be guided actually to some beneficial information today that can help us in one way or another. And we should pay attention to what is presenting to us and what is standing out to us in our perception as we are navigating our experience today. There's also in this energy, and this also makes sense. I actually love the position of the Earth today that we have going on in the context of Jupiter moving into Aries. That Sabian symbol where the Earth is today, what's going on the ground, 21 degrees of Scorpio. Obeying his conscience, a soldier resists orders. And you guys, I feel like this sort of is summarizing how we may be feeling over the course of this next year with Jupiter in the sign of Aries, obeying his conscience. Conscience is ruled by Jupiter. A soldier resists orders. This may have us really inspired and motivated to do what's right over what's expected of us. And this is coming again from this 12-month transit. We had Jupiter moving through the sign of Pisces, giving us this conscious awareness, giving us this conscious expansion. And now we have Jupiter in the sign of Aries, you guys, the sign of the warrior, right? Aries rules the warrior archetype. And we have the Earth today. While Jupiter transitions into the sign of Aries, obeying his conscience, Jupiter, a soldier, Aries resists orders. So I feel like this is a theme that we may be seeing over the course of this next year of it just makes sense, Jupiter and Aries, like people feeling inspired by this wisdom that has been gained to align with truth and to stand up for themselves and to have the courage and the motivation and the faith and the trust and belief in themselves to do the right thing. Jupiter also rules like our moral compass and integrity and doing what's right. And with the Earth at this degree today, I feel like this is definitely a good indication and is telling us that people generally, I feel, are going to start acting from a place of more conscious awareness in line with their morals, their integrity, and their conscious, and being motivated to do what's right again, instead of necessarily to do what's expected, to follow the rules, to follow the authority. We got Jupiter in Aries right now, which conscious action, you guys. That is what I feel like this aligns to. And also, we do have Mars in the conjunction to Neptune, and this energy also is about serving others, detaching from the ego, coming from the place of compassion and empathy, and like high heart energy being the motivation in our actions, selflessness, and really like engaging in this altruistic energy and behavior and activity and stuff like that. So all of these in combination, Mars and Neptune, Jupiter and Aries, and the Earth at that degree today, I definitely feel like this is telling us that there could be some like passive resistance going on in terms of people just not executing orders if they are out of alignment with their conscious really anymore at this point in time. And it's also interesting because simultaneously today we actually have Venus at 11 degrees of Aries, and that Sabian symbol is the ruler of a nation. So there could be a highlight on leaders, rulers, presidents, people in charge, bosses, authority today in the context of their orders not being followed, perhaps, or some type of resistance. Again, that like passive or even active resistance going on. There could be a highlight going on generally leadership, rulers, people in charge today, and the people underneath them, again, like being motivated to act out of truth and conscience and integrity and like a moral basis, as opposed to just blindly following orders. This like it's just duality going on today. Like we have Jupiter and Aries, that is conscious action, and then we have Mars and Neptune, that is like blind action, unconscious action. And I just find it really funny how these two like things are juxtaposed to each other today. But with the Earth at that degree, obeying is conscious, a short soldier resists orders, we are definitely not willing to just like blindly follow orders the way that maybe we used to. I don't know. That's just what's coming through. Again, another thing, that I haven't mentioned much, but I've mentioned a little bit, we do have the moon in Virgo, an earth sign, also forming the trine to the sun and the north node in Taurus today, and then actually will move on and also form a trine to Pluto as well. So this is actually bringing that harmonious energy, things falling into place in relation to the path ahead. We don't need to take action in this energy, you guys. Things are going to happen for us. Things are going to fall into place for us with the sun in conjunction to the north node right now, and this big lunar eclipse, full moon coming up, highly fated, highly destined, highly like hand of God pulling the strings energy that we have going on right now. We don't need to be pushing things forward, even though we may feel a great desire to in this energy. Universe, God, spirit, higher power is doing it for us. This energy, though, it may have us today sort of in the mood to be like planning our next steps or making plans for the future. That is also a better way to use this energy. More in sort of like the plan building, like the strategy of the situation, like the blueprint writing and stuff like that, like making our plans for the actions that we want to take going forward, but not necessarily going ahead and executing them right now, because there's going to have to be revisions to these plans that are made as we go through this Mercury retrograde process. And with later in the day, the trine with Pluto as well from the moon, this could also be bringing up some emotional transformation, leading to regeneration, growth, and release from past patterns in this energy as well. And there's another thing, like the moon forming the trine to Pluto in the end of Capricorn. Pluto in the end of Capricorn to me also represents sort of like this breakdown of the authority, control, like power and control dynamics of the past that have really played a significant role in the way that our entire reality is structured and set up, and just like the authorities of and the thought leaders and stuff of the past sort of in this breakdown process right now, with Pluto in the very end of Capricorn ruling all of those like authority, leadership, long-standing orders of power and control dynamics, like all of that really being broken down right now in the Pluto Capricorn energy. And with the moon coming in and trine today as well, with the earth at the soldier not obeying his conscience and not following orders, and also the ruler of the nation degree, the moon coming in trine, there could definitely be in this radical information calling us to action, and Jupiter into Aries as well. There is a dynamic or an aspect of this energy today that could definitely, there's like a little feather floating, that could definitely be working to break down as well, like our emotional attachment to the things from the past that we may have been bound to, that have been keeping us out of our own personal power and personal truth, Jupiter and Aries. So all of that today, you guys. We've already talked about Mercury being stationed at 5 degrees of Gemini, the radical magazine or publication calling for action, displays a sensational front page. We know all about that, and still, that is a major theme. Information, the pointing finger, a moving finger points to significant passages in a book. There is definitely this highlight on information going on today, and it could be perhaps some bizarre or radical information that is coming through that is causing us to want to take some type of action one way or another. But again, you guys, make sure that we are clear and have all the facts, and we are not just taking some type of action from a place of like really heated emotions or like irritability or aggression or anything like that. So I wanted to say that as well. And again, Venus, ruler of this current Taurus cycle that we're in right now, at 11 degrees of Aries today, ruler of a nation. There may be some of this radical news, radical information, radical headlines spurring us into action in some type of a way in regards to something big that may have to do with leaders, rulers, authority figures, stuff like that. And also perhaps with the Earth at 21 Scorpio today, could be providing some type of, or like initiating or causing some type of resistance going on in terms of the execution of orders being followed in one way or another if they're not in alignment with our conscience or with the spiritual truths that we wish to act on in this energy. So you guys, that is what I have to say for my report for today. Jupiter into Aries. This is definitely a shifting vibration that, again, should really be lighting this fire under us to begin pursuing our personal truth based on this wisdom, the spiritual truth that we've gained over the course of the past year. And with the moon in Virgo today forming the opposition to Mars and Neptune, definitely these polarities, sort of conscious action versus blind action. We don't really want to take either right now because we don't have the whole, we're not seeing the whole story clearly. And with Mars in a conjunction to Neptune, the actions that we perhaps might take right now may not benefit us personally going forward. And with Mercury stationed, there's likely to have to be, you know, revisions to whatever we start in this moment. So definitely the energy for figuring out our own personal truth and making some plans for how we want to use that and what we want to do to align that and begin to live it and embody it and, you know, move towards it going forward. So that is what we got, you guys, for the astrology that is coming out today via the planetary placements and the Sabian symbols. Let's talk for a brief moment about the tarot, you guys. Tarot time, everybody. Got some cards coming out of the deck this morning. I asked God, Spirit, Universe, please give me some symbolism to clarify the collective energy. What do we have going on right now? Where are we at in our, you know, collective transition to the age of Aquarius right now? What are we working on? What advice do we need? So the first card that we got coming out of the deck, you guys, is the Page of Pentacles. We've been getting this card so much lately. It's, you know, interesting, but to me, I feel like this card is trying to actually, like, when I get this card lately in this energy, I feel like it's trying to help align us actually with like our inner child and our authentic personal creative self-expression and, you know, the authentic truth. Again, this Jupiter energy, our personal truth of who we really are and what we're really about and what our talents and gifts are that, you know, are unique to us and what we can, how we can utilize those and how we can turn them into personal resources that we can use to create something physical and tangible and stable for ourselves in our material world. This is a page. This resonates to like the more youthful stages of life. And he's holding he's got like this golden ball at the tips of his fingers, and he's in this very like lush, fertile environment. And I feel like this card is indicating that collectively right now, we're sort of supposed to be going through this process of realigning with the truth of our authentic nature and what we came in with and like what we loved and enjoyed and what gave us passion, you know, originally in our original state, like as a child, and our unique gifts and talents and abilities and blessings and all of that, and really tapping into that and figuring out how we can turn that into a resource that can create opportunities for us that are really like at the tips of our fingers. And after that, we had the Ace of Wands in reverse, or we had the, not in reverse, it was upright. We had the Ace of Wands upright. And this is that divine inspiration coming through. This is like Jupiter moving into Aries, actually, like very, very much so. This is like the fire being lit under us and this passion ignited to start developing these gifts, talents, abilities, and like all the opportunities that those can represent. And that it's so interesting, you guys, in the like context of this other energy, the moon opposing Mars into Neptune simultaneously, because the next card that we actually had coming out after this was the Five of Pentacles, which is like that energy of like feeling not good enough or feeling incapable or feeling, again, like I was saying earlier, like that lack of personal potency or personal like drive and like willpower, or not recognizing the truth of the value within us, or feeling like left out or like shunned, or like we don't fit in one way or another, or just being more like melancholy and like self-critical and like not seeing the potential that we hold within us. And so I feel like these cards are actually representing this polarity, this duality of energy that is presenting and playing out today. Like on one hand, it's literally talking about this Jupiter into Aries with the moon in trine to the sun in the north node, like really inspiring us to want to get in touch with that gold that we have inside of us and bring it out, like to something that we can physically touch and hold and keep in our hands. But on the other, on the other side of things, we may be questioning our ability to do that. We may be questioning whether we really have what it takes. We may be questioning whether, we're good enough, or whether we're just in some type of weird delusion about our own proficiency about stuff. But you guys, once again, this is another card that has been coming out a lot lately. On the back of the deck, we had the Empress, and this is universe reminding us that our job right now is to do these first two things and to align with this inspiration, this divine inspiration, this passion that is coming through, and to help helping us to recognize and move forward in figuring out how we can bring these gifts, these blessings, these talents, these resources inside of us, outside of us, and make them something that we can actually tangibly use so that we can create abundance, fulfillment. This is also about like the card of like the ultimate like creative energy and fertility, and like just being in our state of like utmost self-empowerment and the ability to create and to receive as well from that place what will truly bring us like our heart and soul's true fulfillment. So you guys, again, like the message in the cards today, I feel like, and then actually underneath that we had the Devil in reverse, which is talking about us breaking the chains and setting ourselves free from any of the self-sabotaging patterns from the past, which would be associated with this Five of Pentacles card and these feelings of not being good enough. We don't want to attach to that. And then actually under that, you guys, we had the Six of Wands, and then actually also Temperance. So, we are heading in a very positive direction. Universe wants us to remember and to view ourselves as the Empress, like male or female, it doesn't really matter. This is just the general vibe of being in our power and feeling that we deserve to have all that brings us joy and abundance in whatever way truly fills our personal cup. And being in a state of our prime like fertility and creativity to be able to bring forth, manifest, and attract the things that can also bring us that sense of fulfillment. This is also caring, nurturing, loving, compassion, empathy for others as well. So, ultimately, I feel like this is telling us, we are heading in this direction. We need to remember that we are aligned with these Empress vibrations, this Empress energy, and we just need to find that divine willpower, courage, initiative, assertiveness within us, and creativity as well. This is the Wands. This is fire. This is about passion and creativity to really dig up and unearth our original blessings that we can figure out how to use them and not get too attached to these more negative perceptions of ourselves that can hold us back from being able to align with that energy and receive what universe is trying to bring to us in this wonderful, lovely 222 year that we have going on. So let's grab one last card, you guys. We're going to grab a synchronicity card. These cards are amazing. They are by Jana Shellman, and they are just little bits of wisdom and advice from God that can help us navigate our experience and the energy that we have going on, or in the context of the energy that we have going on today. So I love to pull a synchronicity card because a lot of times they also just have a tendency of really like tying up the loose ends of the report and the tarot and bringing everything together in like a nice little cohesive package. So let's shuffle one more time, and I need one of these cards to come out so that we can choose. Oh, there's one. It's funny, the card that we got coming out today in the context of this energy. It says, don't help too much. It says, these ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Luke 11:42. It is fine and good to help another, but do not leave undone the job of giving him the wisdom to become aware of the powers of his mind. Do not fail to teach him that with knowledge of the power of God, he will never do without a roof over his head, a meal, or any other thing that he desires when he learns to use the power of his mind. Help given too easily robs one of his self-respect. The best way to help another is to teach him to stand on his own 2 feet. Teach another of God and the source of all supply. Then you will have given the best help possible. Teach him to look to God for help. And in the context of this Virgo moon that we have going on today, and the opposition of Mars and Neptune, and that conjunction that is building as well, and Jupiter into Aries, say that could be supersizing these Mars-Neptune vibes, we do not want to just be laying ourselves down on the ground today for other people to walk over, because that could also be a tendency in this energy when the ego is just so sort of diminished at this point in time. I mean, that can definitely be a positive in some ways, but it also can have a tendency of making us like martyr type energy type situation. And this is what God wants us to know in this energy, not to help too much. And again, like I was saying earlier, self-care and figuring out ways that we can begin to heal ourselves actually in this energy, while simultaneously using the drive and the motivation that may be coming through to gain a greater sense of clarity about our situations and about what's been going on. Probably the most beneficial ways to use this energy right now. And God is telling us not to help too much. We need to allow other people to figure it out for themselves. And it's like the Chiron archetype, you know, like the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype. Like and this whole year is really a product of that theme, of that archetype, of that vibration, because we had the new moon in Aries in a conjunction, 1 degree orb off conjunction to Chiron. We're on a collective hero's journey this year, you guys. And like the point of the whole Chiron archetype, it's like the wounded healer teacher. He's a teacher because he comes to this place of self-mastery through healing his own wounds and then leads others by example. And I feel like that's ultimately like what this card is saying. You know, we should help others through our own example and sort of, you know, the moving finger in the book, you know, we can point the information out to them, but we can't make them learn it. You know, we can show them the road, but we can't walk it for them, because that is not ultimately what is going to bring them to their state of self-mastery. So if we really want to help someone else, you know, we can give them all the tools and we can show them the direction to go, but we cannot ever do it for them, because that is just us gaining more, you know, wisdom and all of that, and they're not truly benefiting from it. So I'm going to stop talking now. That is the message that we got from the synchronicity card today. Message from the stars, you guys. Message from the cards. I hope you liked it. I hope I was able to provide something for you guys that can just give you a little bit of, I don't know, maybe clarity in this energy as you're going through your day today. Thank you guys again so much. If you did like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Share it with your friends if you think they would be interested. You guys, leave me comments. I absolutely love your comments. I'm so grateful for all of you. I love your feedback. I love hearing how these energies and aspects are affecting you. Thank you, each and every one of you, so much for being here. I have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, a website, and some other social media stuff. Those are in my description box below. And come back with me tomorrow, you guys. We have Mercury going retrograde tomorrow. I should apologize. In my report from yesterday, I said that Mercury was going retrograde on Wednesday, May 12th, but actually May 12th is a Thursday. So I misspoken. You guys should should be prepared for quite a bit of that over the next couple weeks because your girl's a Gemini ascendant, and when Mercury goes retrograde, my words have a tendency of getting a little bit jumbled. So letting you know in advance. Anyways, have a beautiful day, everybody, and I will be back tomorrow to talk about Mercury retrograde. See you guys then. Bye.